What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone for a daily news video. Um, Keep in mind this is pre-recorded, so if some breaking stuff happened during the day, I will discuss that later on. Also, I will be live this evening with Inter Worldwide, Anthony. So check that one out. We will discuss, Juve, obviously, what's happening with us, what's happening with him, Inter, Italian football in general, Serie A, all those things. Just look ahead and look back to what already happened this season, basically. So most definitely tune in later tonight or rewatch that. But we're going to talk about Giuntoli's interview because he spoke and he said the usual stuff, obviously. But he also said some interesting stuff, between the lines maybe. But he had some quite telling things to tell us ahead of what is looking or shaping up to be a very difficult season, and also potentially a rebuild that will take much longer than expected, basically. But before we get into it, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's go. Okay, so he spoke, like I said, like the usual stuff. I'll protect Allegri. I'll protect every coach, basically, which I do expect. In front of the camera, you don't need to push it. You don't need to overdo it. You don't need to make a lie very obvious. But I don't expect him to come out and say, "I don't believe in Allegri. I never did." Like I never asked for that. But when things are not going well, I expect anyone to say how it is. No, not overemphasizing it. Maybe like we fans do, but like just keep it clean and say, this is it basically. I'm not gonna talk about that much, but he spoke about Allegri and he spoke about expectations and all those things. And he started off saying, we're in year one of our project, and Inter and Napoli, they're further ahead. So apparently, project restarted. Allegri gets basically two shots because when he came on, it was a project, and now it's a new project. So we need to accept it at this point. But he said Allegri possesses great personality and dedication. He makes a team execute his ideas without creating excuses. Juve is always Juve. We will return to doing what we have always done. We want to reposition ourselves. We have planned to return with the coach, giving great respect to the economical numbers to create a competitive and sustainable style of play. We need to win. There's no way around it. Now, quite a lot to unpack. Like, first of all, like he made it very clear Allegri is the guy now and also for the coming years because that's the project that started and we're going to rebuild with him, basically. That's what he said. That's obviously number one to take away. And then he said the team execute, what Allegri says without making excuses. That could be 100% true, and I believe that. The problem is what has been executed and what Allegri is asking the team to do is not that great. And go back to the last part saying to create between the lines, like between the economical options we have as a club, he said to create a competitive and sustainable style of play. And when I read that, when I saw that, but I also saw I saw first that the competitive, like the style of play, like sustainable style of play. That's one. And after I saw that, or like I read that, and I was like, but a couple of minutes ago, you said that the team is doing well for Allegri, or like the team is doing what Allegri is asking, and all those things. And if you agree with that part, and again, that could be the case, you also should be honest and say this, what we are doing now, and what we have done now for the last 2 years and a couple of months is not sustainable. It's sustainable for top four races and scraping into it and whatever, and have like an 8-7 game losing season in Serie A. It's sustainable for that. It's not sustainable to build on. It's not, because in that interview you also spoke about we played good halves and we need to, create. How do you want to say that? We need to create consistency with that. And I'm like, but it's not happening. You see, like you said, like he even said, like good moments, good halves. that's not good. When it's sporadic, when it's now and then the next week nothing, and the week following week again nothing, and then you have an half, and then you have again nothing, and then you have a game. That's not sustainable. It needs to connect quickly because it's almost November, like it's halfway through October, and if you have not seen that now, and you also have not seen that for the last 2 years before excuse me, what tells you that, you know what, we're gonna have some sustainable style of play, a good style of play? Because, like I said, you can sustain a terrible style of play and still get results based on the quality you have over other teams, which we have done the last 2 years. But to have a sustainable, dominant style of play to actually compete and build again, that's not there. And as of now, there are absolutely no signs that's coming. You know, because when Chiesa's not there, we are absolutely clueless up top. We have nothing. Even with Chiesa, we look clueless. But it's, you know, relying heavily on him making it happen, to make it happen. Basically, when he's not there, that's an issue. So I agree with the last part, but we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that for 2 years and a half now. Not at all. So that for me is an issue. And the ending is true. We need to win. There's no way around it. Like this is like, again, you're one of the biggest clubs in the world. Winning is just the bare minimum. Like that's the expectation, you know, and you cannot go rebuild, another rebuild, and not like that cannot happen. Like that's not acceptable. So we admitted that at the end, but like I said, he said, well, we always said sustainable style of play. The only thing he didn't say, what we are saying, is that there is no sign of that, you know. But yeah, let's move off to the second part. And he talked about the Mercato. It's a two-parter, so I'll read it out first. He said, we have already young talents like Locatelli, Keane, Gatti, Fagioli, and Miretti, who need to embody Juve's values for those who come from abroad. The strong Italian core is a positive, but at this moment, we must consider foreign and less explored markets to strike balance between competitiveness and sustainability. He said, I like to understand the family's background and the life they led before. You also go and watch them. Understanding the gut feelings, relying on statistics is trendy, but it's correct to balance it with the personal interaction. So he was asked about the Mercato. He said, we will see, but we want to value our own players first and all those things. But we're always vigilant. We need one. Pogba's gone, Fagioli is gone. So we need something, because you're not going to cut it with McKennie and Miretti, you know, playing, I don't know, between the lines, behind the striker, number 8. Like, that's not going to cut it, you know. And Rabiot, Locatelli, like, you need quality. Like, it's as simple as that. Besides the numbers, you need quality. She was asked about that first, and I've said it many times. I absolutely do not care if we have 1 or 10 or none, no Italian player in the team. I just want to win. I don't care about that. You know, I don't care that the Azzurri need a strong Italian core from Juve to win. Like, I don't absolutely do not care about that. I just want to win. If it's with 1 Italian or 2 or 10 or none, whatever. Gatti is not a young talent. Gatti is 25. I think Locatelli is 24 almost. So that's not what it is. Fagioli, we don't know what's going to happen with Fagioli. So that's one thing. But I agree with the second part 100%. It's time to explore markets we never look at, the Belgium league, you know, because everybody's talking about Boniface from Leverkusen now. You could have picked him up here. It was clear and obvious what he was, if you want. Like, and we don't follow these type of leagues, you know, and it's a mistake. We need to do that, but to do that, you also need a coach who will be there, ready to develop them, ready to give them their own role they will flourish in. And that's my fear at the moment, because we have players that are not playing in their position, they're not flourishing, you know, Cambiasso, maybe, Miretti, Junior not playing. So it could be a win-win, but it could also be a win-loss. Like, we are looking at the Belgium league, or we're looking more at the Dutch league. I'm just saying certain things. But when they can't come in, excuse me, they're not good enough, because they're not being put in a position to perform at their best. So it's a sticky one, but that's what Giuntoli is. Like, he made it very clear. That's what he wants to do. That's what he did at Napoli. That's what we need to do to become sustainable. He also said at times you make good signings, at times not so good signings. That's for every team. It is what it is. The issue is we made a lot of them the last couple of years. Um, and then also he said something key, stats, because I've always said stats are fun, but stats are there for me personally to back up my eye test, or when someone tell me you're wrong, he played well, and I'm like, I haven't seen it, with my eyes, but maybe he did the dirty work and I've looked over it. I will look up stats. But for example, Keane against Malta, did Italy play Malta, or was it Estland? I think it was Malta. um I saw, after I didn't watch the game, I saw Keane 2 assists. I was like, wow, good game. I looked up the assists, and I felt ashamed for people boosting that to say Keane was great because those were assists. Those were miscontrolled, turned into a goal. Like, and technically it's an assist on the board, but that's what I mean with eye test. If you add an eye test, you're like, yeah, that's not an assist. Basically, that's not, helping out. Yeah, like you miscontrolled your control basically. So, but it goes on the board as a stats. That's what Giuntoli is saying. But you need obviously both. But gut feeling is also important. It is. Um, that's what he's here for. So let's see what he will do. Let's see if he will do something in January. I think that's more difficult. We need to get back into the Champions League, obviously, to make some moves in the summer. That's for sure. But that's it. In a nutshell, Giuntoli admitted like it needs to be better. It needs to be sustainable. He's backing Allegri. It's up for Allegri now to make it work, because this is a new project. But if there's no development and you scrape top four, you need to make a decision at the end of the season, because the project is going nowhere. Because this team is better in terms of they can perform better consistently with the quality they have than what we are showing. And even the last 2 years, when you even potentially have more quality in the squad. But that's it for me. If something breaking happens, keep in mind, pre-recorded, I will talk about it. Join me with Inter Worldwide Live, Anthony, to talk about Inter, Juve, and Serie A in general. And yeah, like this one, and then I'll see you guys later. Ciao.